Well, photographs often have everything, including the kitchen sink, in them. And, well, with a painting, that's not exactly the way you want to go. You want to keep it simple. So eliminate until you get the composition that says the most about what you are trying to put a concept across. So let's have a go at that. Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline studio. I'm Sybil Mustick. Behind the camera is Joshua Blanc. So here we are with this lovely old barn. Actually, I've been waiting for it to age more so that the paint deteriorates a bit more. That's typical for artists. And with a lit scene and more shadow areas. And we want to eliminate a lot of this clutter. There's so many things that don't need to be into the composition at all, if that's what you want to say. So our concept here is our lit side of the barn with a bit of shadow, so it's the foliage is framing the barn, and you don't want to have the roof overpowering everything. So we will keep that under control. So we're going to start with a drawing. And I'm using my graphite, pit graphite, pure 2900 9B Faber-Castell. So it's a lovely thing to do side strokes with. And I'm just going to shore it up a little bit so that we get just a little bit more of the differences. And you know, you can work this way, do mark making, or you can use the side. You can do it lightly, maybe back in here. You can do thin lines. There's some straggling grass here. Some big leaves. Now I've put everything in that's in the photograph just to show you how we eliminate stuff. So very complex fence. So we'll see what we can get rid of so that we're still saying what we want to say. Okay, so this tree is overhanging the barn in spots. And then there's a lighter tree behind just for contrast. This tree is considerably lighter, so you just want to put a faint touch on here just to indicate foliage. And then we have some really dark areas. These are nice negative spaces and a few found and lost edges. Maybe keep it nice and dark next to the barn. Don't want too much contrast here because then we're putting so much focus on that really brilliant aluminum roofing material. So this part will be the transfer. Well, a few little bushes in the front here. So there'll be some greenery. And back in here is a bit of soil. Don't know how much focus we'll put on that. And then these are corrals for, I think, horse training, things like that. And then to keep critters out or in, whatever, in here. So we'll see. I just want to make sure that I can see when we do the transfer, those edges. especially on this far side. Yeah, remember the comic, The Far Side? There's kind of a light area in here. And then dark underneath for a shadow. There is a window here. And of course the side of the, and a little bit of a door. And there are two little white slats. I don't know, I suppose there's decor. And the door is fairly dark. And then there's a really dark shadow in here. Okay, so we're ready to tone our paper here. And we just need a little bit. So you start with white. This is titanium white and heavy body. Golden, and just a smidge, I mean just a touch of the blue. We're not even gonna, we'll have that in reserve here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of silver to it. That'll just give it a bit of a metallic glow. Mostly what we're using it for is that roof. And we'll just add that in. Now I'll roll it out and we'll see if we need some retarder. So we just want a tiny touch of this. Well, that's looking pretty good. We'll see if it sticks to the plate here. And just a touch more color. It's always, if you're trying to stay at tinting strength, then start with your lightest colors first, and then if it's too light, then you can always add a little bit more darker color. But if you have the darker color to begin with, then it's really hard to lighten it up, then you're using a lot of paint. Which we don't want to do, considering the prices of the paints nowadays. Yes, if you want to go and make lots of money, become a paint chemist. So just putting a tiny background tone, just a whisper of paint. Okay. That layer will just be negligible, but it will give some tone in between leaf areas and of course on that roof. We're not going to put a lot of paint on the roof. Okay, so, oh, perfect. Look at that. Okay, just a tiny bit of glow. So I'm going to transfer this to here, and then we'll have one little tricky thing that we're going to be doing. So here we go. Get it on there nice and straight. Use the Baron. Put a fair amount of muscle into transferring this image, because you run to see those edges very clearly. Take a peek at it. Okay, so that made quite the difference. Yes. So the important thing is on here, right? And from there on, we're going to be just looking at the photograph. I've reversed it. This is the proper view. And I've reversed it so I can work from it. And that's the view it's on here, and this will help me with colors and things. So we're going to be using oil-based printing inks. These are Speedball. I just sent for these. I need an oil-based oil cleanup type of paint. There is now a water cleanup for some of the printmaking inks, and they work fine with things like block printing, but they don't work well with lithographs. Actually, they don't work at all because you're always wetting the plate. We'll be doing that in a future video, doing a sort of kitchen-based lithographic process. But today we're just going to be doing a painterly print on here, sort of a wet and wet method. And we'll just set out our paints here. And we'll put black in one corner. I might outline a few things. And then I sort of set up my paints always the same way. We'll do white in one corner. That way I don't have to think about, you know, where I'm reaching for paint. It's just automatic. So starting with yellow. And you don't need a lot of paint. With the oil colors, it goes a long way. And I only ordered really basic paint. Red, yellow, and blue. It just says blue, so it's probably closer to a phthalo, which is fine. It gives you better greens. So we should be able to mix everything from there. I have extra paint. I have some light green. Put that at the base here. Now this is Shiva by Delta. And this one is a little heavier body. Again, a good oil-based printing ink. The nice thing about printing inks is once you print on your paper, they dry rapidly. There's no long waiting process for drying your paint. We need a bit of brown, so this is a nice Daniel Smith color. And we'll put it right here. Okay, and some phthalo green-blue blue shade. Again, not a lot. Daniel Smith is probably one of the top printing inks you can get out there. And then just a variety of your oil painting paint brushes. I had a red standing by, but I just want to show you why I don't find the jars and things like that very useful. See what happens to them? You know, when you open them, and this is just solid. There's a bit of paint underneath there, but, you know, it's very wasteful. They used to always come in big jars, and I've got quite a few that are, you know, hardly used, and they're gone because they've dried up. But tubes work really well. Right, okay, so we're going to start with our background. Now, you can see a lot of these dark spaces, and we put them in the drawing, and they set off the roof really nicely. So, and here on the side, this will be our blue-green, like a blue spruce. And the first thing we're going to eliminate is this little thing on here. So, and that's right there, but we're just going to get rid of it. The whole point of this was to keep it simple, right? So, starting with a little like that. And we can add a little bit of black. If you keep your tones simple and don't mix too many complements, the black will stay radiant. And this will be our darkest areas, so we're going to put those in first. And just light brush strokes will do it. side of the brush if need be. And sort of doing some negative painting here. And just a few dark areas here and there. You're going to be putting that lighter bush in. Touch more black maybe. And you can add a little bit of blue if you like. Just for contrast. I think that's better. Okay, and on here, there's that funny little building here, and we're just going to ignore that. And there's a dark area here, up in here. And then here. A little bit up there. So generally you paint from the background to the foreground. So not too many details to begin with. And then this is actually a really fast way to do it. And there let's add a little bit more black and blue here at the base, because a lot of this was shadow down here. Shadow from the trees that are over there. Let's put it a little bit more dark. The black is quite fluid, as you can see, so that actually helps. All right, so now all I'm going to do, because I'm working in just a range with the colors, is I'm just going to wipe my brush a little bit, because I'll be working with greens and yellows and so forth, and it's all in the same color palette, so it's okay if you have a little bit of those colors in your paintbrush. So starting from the left-hand side here, we're just going to add a little bit of... See, it's not making much of a difference at all as far as the color goes. Maybe a tiny bit of the brown. It is fall after all. And then we're just going to do some mottled coloring here. Just starting to add a little bit more brown and red tones here and there. And going into more yellow down below here. I guess it's just capturing the edge of the light because it's hitting the light on that side. So if you want to know if things are in shadow, highlight a few areas, and then the other color is the shadow color, because shadows aren't always that intense. There's just not light there, or not enough to make it glow. So then we have some really intense, and I'm leaving this because it's interesting. if you have something interesting that doesn't take away from the composition, then leave it in. So just a little bush that's got some darker. Just make sure that you're not making blobs on here. You can suggest the shape. And then back to this color down below here. Because most of this is grass. And let's add just a little bit more of the green. So some touches here and there. I'm going to shore up some edges here. We have to make sure this side equals that. No, there was a pole here and we're going to eliminate that. So our edge for our barn is actually here. We want to make sure we have that peak nice. And then this goes more down. And then this goes out. And that should agree with that. So, and you hang it over a little bit on the side. And then that goes out. There's a sort of a tiny little ridge on each section. And that gives it that barny look. And then we'll outline the big door. Okay, and there was this sort of large mark here that will do. And we can put in that little leaning thing. Again, it's a question of interest, right? So, and it gives a bit of, you know, that it's a working barn, somebody's doing something. It's not just a static image. And there's a sort of another opening here, just a small one. With a halfway door. And there's a nice little shadow in here. Just in that corner. Now there was a window here, and what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of it. It's not necessary to our composition. I'm just going to outline the shadow that's in here. And it has a kind of an interesting, strange shape like that. And that. And then there's a shadow coming from the base. And we'll paint that in. There was a pole here, and we're eliminating that. Totally not necessary. Here is just more leafy things. There was some big leaves, another tree in behind. And we'll outline our, but we'll do that later because my hand will probably get in there. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm just going to paint without saying anything so that we can get through this video fairly rapidly. It's And as usual, I'm not doing you know, a famous painting here. This is a demonstration only, and you know, if it works out fine and we get to show it, that's a bonus. But I don't expect that. A good painting takes time and effort, and maybe several attempts. You know, and some changes. That's the way things go. But you know, we're doing not too badly, and so we just motor on here. And we just have maybe a few more of these dark areas to play around with. Just work with color. There's no trees overhanging here, so we'll take that out. So we eliminated that pole. We're just shoring up the edge here. And we'll start on the dark brown, maybe add a little bit more blue to that. So this is the shadow side of the barn. And I'm just using the side of my brush here. And then there's kind of a white area there, and then all the rest of this brown color, including that spot. I don't know, maybe somebody had an opening there. I'm not sure why it's darker. But leaving that little leaning piece, right? The barn door. Now the board's all going across like this, so that's why I'm maintaining that perspective. Okay, let's put in the lightest shade. And we've eliminated that extra window, so this should be very bold. Because that's the lit side. And we can add maybe a little bit of the yellow to it to give it more punch even. Especially here against the shadow side. Right back to our original brush, and now basically you're just doing the yard and putting in the last little touches. And the fencing will be, we've got a lot of colors going here. It'll be easy to make gray. The yard is sort of a yellowy gray tone, so we're going to add some of this to that. A little bit of white. And there you go. You have maybe a little bit more red so it's not greenish. There, so then you have your kind of yard. It's a little too pink. Let's add a little bit of brown to that. Okay. Without competing with the barn, so. There's a lot of green here still, which we'll put in later. And guess what? We've eliminated all those extra fences. We don't need them. Just painting the sort of yard color in between. And some of this you won't see because of the weeds, things that are going to come. But you'll see a little bit. And we'll make this darker here because this is the shadow side. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Just a few little details to put in. Let's try for those shadows in the barn. Okay. It's kind of goopy paint to work with. Yeah, it's like not smooth at all. But you just get used to handling it after a while. And you could maybe add a few details on these things, but don't get too carried away. Just make it look old and sort of decrepit looking. Okay. Barn roof color. Now this side is lighter, and these two sides, this one, we'll do this one first. And touch more blue. Now we can use the blue because we've got that blue spruce. I don't like introducing what I call a foreign color, so whatever color you have in your composition should be somewhere else. And then this one's a bit lighter. Touch of blue, but not too much. And then again, it's a little bit darker on the bottom part of it, but not too much. And don't forget we have that underlying color when we print it. Yellow and maybe a touch of orange. For the straw area in the barn, in here. And that will set us up for our little grasses and things in the front. And these are just shapes, just paint shapes sometimes. It's really good. And this will be, because it's in the light, except for the one shadow area, that should be quite bright. And you can brighten up the foreground here. Add some of your greens. and just dab it in there. Otherwise it'll mix and you don't want that. And if there's any foliage, then it goes darker on this end. Okay, and there's a lit side to the edge of that barn in here. Okay, our last little bit is grasses, and those are always fun to do. And so mix up sort of a gray-brown. I'm just pulling out a little bit of color here. It's a tiny bit of blue, just to take it down a hair. A little more white. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so all sorts of grasses here. And some of will be sparkling and others will be in shadow. So that's why you have a few highlights. So we've eliminated some of the fussiness of the fence just by doing this. And then it's not so forbidding. When you have closed things, they sort of, you know, hide secrets or keep you out, or, you know, so make it interesting. You don't always have to tell a story, but you have to maybe create interest, you know, why, and ask questions. And now we're just going to take it down for the base. Make almost a purple here. And then you just pull it up. All sorts of grasses and sticks and things. And then you can suggest maybe the occasional tree trunk or branch. Just don't go crazy. Again, we're not trying to increase the details, we're trying to eliminate them. And same on this side. Don't need much there. Maybe I'd hide some of this stuff. We know it's there. And just smoothing that out because it's a bit globby and that will take forever to dry without losing the intensity. Okay, the last touch. All right, so, well, here we are. So a little demonstration on doing a painterly print in oil-based, our printmaking inks, our Speedballs, and Daniel Smith and Shiva. Give it a shot. It's worth doing. The nice thing about it is it prints immediately. So we're going to get rid of this and this. And we put it on here. I'm just lining up the top and the sides. That's what we did for registration. You have to be much more exact when you're doing registration for wood blocks and so forth. Sometimes people have little tabs, and that if they're doing multicolored printing, and then that is attached to your plate, and then you can just put it in position, and you can be confident that it will stay in place. So now this might take a little bit of time, but generally you can, you'll get a good image right away. You might even get a ghost print, because not all the oil is going to be, you know, transferring to the paper. I did not previously wet it. Sometimes certain printmaking papers. This isn't a printmaking paper. It's a drawing paper, and I'll post in the tags all the different things I used, and we'll see how things went here. And ta-da! All right, that's not bad. And you really get that, it's almost moving, you know, it's like an animation. That's the joy of doing a painterly print. And you almost get the feeling of the rustling leaves and so forth. And see how our underpainting came through, and it informs the roof, gives it that special quality. And we get that feeling of, you know, shadow here, the brightness of that lit side. Yeah, I mean, I could have a few more colors to really punch that up, but I think with just basics, you can mix pretty well anything you want. And it all works. Here's our little grasses and sticks and things. That all work pretty good. And we've eliminated a lot of the detail and got the essence of what we want. So less is more, people. All right. Thanks so much for watching. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these kinds of things. Mind you, on my own, you know, I take a fair amount of time with us in the studio here. We're just, you know, flying by the skin of our teeth sometimes. If that's an expression. Anyway, take care, and take care of yourselves and your families, and be kind to one another. Bye for now.